Good evening, good vach, my dear brothers, sisters, cousins, friends. I wonder who's still what. Certain people still consider them as a brother in Klal Yisrael, or still certain people still consider cousin to me, or certain people still consider a friend to me. Anyways, this is Yaakov Yisrael ben Yosef, Beini Yaakov Yisrael ben Yosef. Give me my schmooze this Motzei Shabbos, Parshas Eikev, Yud Ches Av. It is right now 2 minutes to 10. Actually, 9:57. 3 minutes to 10. August 8th. Now this year is sponsored by BB Chickens, Town Appliance, Yaakov Yisrael, the band, Cyrillic Electric, the electrician, Westboro Kosher Farms, and A Ladder Electric, and Rabbi Yankel Mitavugin, the car service. Of course, all those who are friends to support and like to hear this good musar shmooze, good Sichas musar, good chizik and Torah. Before I begin, as I begin actually, I like to say over halacha, basically. Hilchas, it's basically Gemara's Sichas and Hilchas and Seicher. That is halacha l'sasha shoy b'dishoy, which applies to a Yiddish worker. That if you have, let's say, a restaurant or a catering place, you have a Yiddish worker, you're not supposed to hold him back from tasting the food. If he wants to taste the food, just what's going. Or else, if you make it with him personally, that he's only able to eat lunch, breakfast, or supper, that he's there. Not touch any tasting food, and sometimes if he's a cook, he has to taste it, so he's allowed to taste it. It's not a shiloh of gzela. It's a shiloh of sach that you should, just like you have a Yiddish worker. Now this loch applies only to a Yiddish worker, not a Goyish worker. Because the reason is that there's a shach shor b'disha, that someone can be doing like a shor b'disha. It's a shor which is a malagir, which eats only small amounts, and that's why Yid is doimah to that in this halacha, that he eats small amounts, so he's allowed to taste and here and there, and you're not allowed to hold him back from tasting as a worker. But also, if you personally make up him that he's only able to eat lunch, breakfast, lunch, and supper from you. It's the gay restaurants and catering places. Now, Goyish workers work on a different thing. They don't have the loch of l'sach, but them, they have a different loch of schira that you're entitled to if they work for you from the morning for breakfast and before lunch and for supper. You have to supply them with food, breakfast, lunch, and supper. Now, I advise you should give them kosher food if they're working in a kosher facility, because first of all, you're not allowed to support them, pay them money to go buy non-kosher food, because then you're even a no of chazer. You're having a no that a guy is eating chazer from your money. That's a no. You're not allowed to have a no for that. But you make guy money to buy treif. Another thing also is you have Goyish workers, you should keep them eating kosher food, because once they bring in the treif guide, first of all they make shilas of kashrus. And besides of that, when they eat treif, the minds come nishal to do dvar mesurim, as because they eat what they are, as they say. They eat chazer, they act like chazerim. They eat beers, they act like beers. Basically, if they eat treifus, they have no control basically on their behavior. They usually do things to steal and to make treifkeit in your restaurants and things like that, to make trouble. because they have the acre, besides for their riches of themselves, of their personality, because their klal goy has their klal ra in him, which is to do ra, because they don't have any Torah in them. So eventually they always have a will to do ra, but when they eat treifas, it makes them go after their taivas to do more ra afterwards, especially sometimes they drink beer, which makes them go after the riches. So there's a law of the Sasha Shoy B'disha works on a Yiddish worker only. They have this halacha that they're allowed to taste the food here and there when they're doing work, then I'll be held back. Because they don't eat much, they only, or else if he taka, the Yid taka eats like a chazer, then he has a shaila of first of the shaila if he's a zer kosher. If he has the midas rois like a chazer, or he has midas to go touch every single thing, every single piece of meat before he touches a piece of meat that he's going to eat. Like some kids do in certain houses, they touch every single piece of meat before the guests get, and they eat. I sometimes see in certain people's houses that the kids go and they tap every single piece of fish or every single piece of meat, and they get their, some things now it's coronavirus, they get their germs on it, of course. So, kids are nice, so that's the midas, and so like the Gemara said, oila le'yinuka, oila avua, oila avua le'yinuka. Basically in Bab Basra, that basically a few places it says in Shas that the Gemara that if the kid has such midas, this usually comes and lacks in the parents, and that's why we have over here in the Seres Dibris that l'shtachalem l'savnik yenechi Hashem lekecha yahavelecha kalei poikav ovei nevoi sabon shleishon bein l'sainai. As when the Bnei Misham punishes the fathers and the children, is when they have the midas still in their children. Eventually, also the Gemara brings down shot in that. So sometimes parents suffer because their midas and their children are so bad, and they have it and lack in them because they never trained them the right way, they never gave them the right midas. Sometimes it comes from the school, sometimes it comes from other places. There's also another Indian that if, let's say, if a Yiddish worker happens to be going into a store late at night or early in the night to make a delivery. Now, if the store is, let's say, a restaurant, and the store is a catering, it has two different halachas. First of all, in a restaurant, if he's going in to make a delivery, he's not allowed to take anything from like the display area, because that's already set for money-wise. But if he goes into the fridge and he happens to be the owner and they're during the daytime, he asks the owner, can I taste something? The owner shouldn't be about bad balmidas and say he can't taste anything, because then he's even like Sasha B'Shabbat. But he shouldn't take more than like a dish of taste, like a small, big taste, like a taste like a small little krepla or a small chicken wing or a thing, because then the owner says fine, it's no problem. But if he's coming in the middle of the night and he sometimes has to, let's say, move everything out of the way, deliver it directly into the store, open up the store late at night, and deliver all the way into the fridge and move 50 things out of the way, and the whole thing work basically, and doesn't get paid extra to make the delivery into the store, and he doesn't get paid extra to make the delivery into the store. And let's say that boss of the store pays his boss more to do the delivery into the store, into the fridge, but his other boss doesn't pay him extra. So in other words, he falls in mechlal of a worker for the store now. He goes into the store, he has to move things out of the way, he has to move garbage cans, he has to move pails, he has to move the dirty dishes that the Goyish workers leave there at night, brooms and everything, and fans and all that, and everything out of the way, and then make room in the fridge still to bring everything, let's say 10 cases of eggs, or 14 cases of chicken, or 21 cases of chicken. And there happens to be some ready, not big cutlets, like small little pieces of, like the Frankfurter, the half Frankfurters. If he's tying a small little piece, in the Shiloh of the Sasha B'disha, he has a right to basically taste in a restaurant if it's not prepared on a platter for sale already. If it's just laid out on a tray or something like that. Doesn't look ready to be sold. If it looks ready to be sold, that means that the boss is already prepared to put out display. He can't touch it yet. But that's called taking away the money, the lechem that's ready set on the table. But otherwise, if it's like displayed in a tray, the shaila of the boss from holding him back from tasting it out, it'd be like because he's already working for that boss by displaying, moving everything away from the way to get into the fridge and setting up everything in the fridge and schlepping extra for him, doing extra work for him, and sometimes even taking in his bread or what's that, staying outside waiting for it to get inside the store, and he brings it in also for him as a favor. So the boss shouldn't have any neglect that he tastes a little wing or chicken wing or something, or a little small piece of a quarter inch of quarter inch of a chicken nugget. It's not called gazela. It's a shiloh. It's not shabadisha because he's working for you already. He's in already your category of working for you, and he has to go in and put stuff in your store and do extra work and do everything for you to do extra thing. He doesn't get paid extra for that work, that extra delivery that he's going in that store and doing such a special delivery, like bringing it into the store, in the middle of the store, opening the store, locking the store, check and making sure it's neat and everything. Doing a very good job. So it's a shiloh that it's not called gazela for the work for that worker that yid only applies to a yid, because if it would be a goy, it would be a shiloh.